Okay, so question number, no, sorry, in Desmos 1.5, slide 7, which is card A5, right? So again, what your purpose is to find a representation of this in one of these B cards here that match the inverse of this. So the first thing that I want to do is I like really want to do the inverse. So and graph it as a table. So I'm going to give myself a table, right? And then this is going to be my inverse. So I will type out inverse. Actually, I'll go y to the negative first, which is not terminology that we normally use, but I just want you to know that that's what we're using right here. So let me scooch you over. I cannot do that. So let me not do that. Oh, that's weird. Okay, so I'm going to just leave that. And then here, I just want to switch these numbers. So here, I'm going to go -3. And then all the way over here, I'm putting -2, right? And then here, the next one, I'm going to go with 3. And then all the way over here, I'm going to put a 2. And then same thing goes here. I'm going to put a 0 and I'm going to put a 0. That's kind of neat. It's a 0, 0 as you switch it, right? And then the last one I'm just going to do is a 5 and a 6. Actually, one more for the 4 and the 4. And that 4 and 4 is pretty neat too. If you think about 4 and 4 and 0 and 0, when I switch those two are going to be the same. So I really want this to be a table, and I go like there's no table down here. So I'm going to look at this table. This table doesn't match because it's supposed to be -3, -2, and that's not correct. I'm supposed to get 3, 2. I'm supposed to get 0, 0. So B8 is not the answer. Then I look at this one, same deal. And I get this one at same deal. So I was hoping that maybe the inverse of this would be a table represented here, but it's not. So now I have to kind of think, okay, well, what else could it be? So it's not going to be the table. We already know it's not this one because we've already found this one, and it's not this one. So I'm going to start looking through these to figure out, okay, well, if I plug in -3 here, will I get out a -2? Okay, so I'm actually going to use Desmos again because Desmos helps me plug stuff in as well. So I'm going to X all these out. This is from an earlier class. And I'm still learning how to plug in log base 3. So that's another reason why it would be helpful if you plugged in into a calculator, because you don't know how to quite think about this, right? So log base 3, and then I'm plugging in -3. I should get out -2. And then I plug -3 here and it says undefined. Oh, why is it undefined? Okay, so the reason why it's undefined is because if I graph log base 3 of x, if you look here, right, I was trying to plug in a -3. The graph doesn't live on the negative side. So that's one of the things that you'll learn about logs, right? The graph doesn't live on the negative side of log base 3 of x. So that you're thinking, you're like, oh, I get what she's talking about. She's talking about domain. Yes. When I look at this, the domain is not living on the negative side. So very good. So then I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't help me. Let me try another. That one might help me. So I'm going to think about that one. And I'm just going to look at all my possibilities. So maybe this one, not this one because we already found it. Not the tables because we found it. We already did this one. And then here it says that my point should be 0, 0. So that point isn't 0, 0. So that's not going to be it. It says the y-intercept of this one is 0, 1. But that's not true because it's 0, 0. So these are gone. This is gone. This is gone. This is gone. I look at the point 0, 0. That doesn't exist on there. So oh, it has to be this guy. And you're right, it does. It actually has to be this guy. So if I look at this point here for B2, grab B2 really quick, and I start plugging stuff in here, it says when I have a -3, it should get out a -2. So when I plug in -3, and that's all confusing. So I'm like, what number am I going to plug in? So let me just plug in 0. If I plug in 0, I should get out 0. So 0. So in case you haven't learned how to plug things into here yet, this says only use this equation if it's between these numbers only use this equation if it's this number, right? So here I plug in 0 and I get, yeah, 0 is less than 3 when greater than -3. And then I plug it in. So this is the one I'm going to go to for x is equal to 0, right? Because that's true, because 0 is less than 3, but greater than -3. That's a true statement, right? Let me let this guy catch up to me. Okay. So when I plug in, so f of 0 would be equal to 2/3 times 0, I get a 0. So far that checks out because look, I got 0, 0, right? Let me check another point. Let's try the number 4. I should get out 4. So which one of these two functions am I going to use if x is 4? Well, is it true that x is greater than 3? Is that true? Is 4 greater than or equal to 3? And you're like, yes, that works. Okay, so because this is true, then for x is equal to 4, I'm using this one, right? So these are the conditions, like, I don't know, you can have $20 if you clean your room. So if you clean your room, then you get the $20. But if you didn't clean your room, you don't get the $20, right? So I'm going to plug it into there. So I get 2 times 4 minus 4, which is 8 minus 4, which is just 4. So I get f of 4 is 4. So wow, I got 2 points that match, right? These two. And then you actually see that they actually do match, right? So B2 belongs to A5. Okay, B2 belongs to A5. Okay, then the next slide is this y equals to 3 to the x. Yeah, y equals 3 to the x. And so here, if you remember what we had talked about last week, we learned that the inverse of exponentials, and this is an exponential because x is in the exponent, the inverse of x to x being in the exponent is logs. So this is log base 3 of x, which is this one right here. So things that you should know, I want to write this over here. So let me write this. Inverse of logs is exponential, where this base matches with this base, and then it's just to the x. So that base matches with that base, and then it's just to the x, right? These two are like multiply, divide, add, subtract. They all undo each other. So that helps you with that. And then I'm looking for the next slide. I think it was 11. Yeah, 11. The next slide is 11, and it looks like this, right? Okay, so if you look at who we have left, right? B1 is out, B2 is out, B3 is out, right? B4 is available. B5, I think, is available. B6 is available. And then B7 is not. B8 is not. B9 is, and B10 is. Okay, so this one looks like this. So if you think about if I reflected this, right, across the y equals x line, it would look something like that. It would go like something like that, right? So I can't, okay, so I'd have to technically yes, right? So let's see. So that picture doesn't look like my blue picture. So yeah, those don't work. So this doesn't look like the inverse of that. These two don't look like inverses of that. Okay. This one, it says the function is continuous and grows by an equal factor of 5 over intervals. And this does not look like it's growing factor of by a factor of 5, right? Hold on a second. So then I say, okay, well, let me try another one. So if I look at this one, if I reflected it across, that doesn't look like that one. And then here, this one says 3, 0. So that would, no, because then to switch that would be 0, 3, and that would have to be here. So that's not it either. So then we look here. Let's see if this one is it, right? Hold on a second. Let me switch one thing really quick. Okay, so then what we end up doing is, okay, well, what about this one? So this says, if I switch these two, I would get -6 and 216 and -4 and 64 and 0, 0. That doesn't work either though, right? So I want to know, who does A9 match with? Let's see. So then, I checked this one, that didn't work. I checked that one and that one didn't work. Oh, B10. Let's see. It says the function is continuous and grows by an equal factor of 5 over intervals. The y-intercept is 0, 1, which makes sense, right? And this is growing at like by really, really steep. So I think my answer might be B10. Definitely not B9. I'm eliminating people here. B9, no way. B7, no. B8, no. B5 is no. This doesn't match because of the switch, right? If I go 0, 3, that's not that intercept. The intercept is right here at, let's see, 1, 0. So if I switch those, that would be 0, 1. So this guy would be 0, 1. Right? And then, okay, so that doesn't work, that doesn't work. That doesn't work because it's 0, 0. So yeah, the answer has to be B10. Okay, it has to be B10. Okay, last one. It says Yasmin started a savings account with $5. At the end of each week, she added 3. So she adds 3 every single week. This function models the amount of money in the account after a given week, for a given week. So again, same thing goes here. I'm looking for like a 5. I'm looking for a growth rate of 3, but then I have to flip everything, right? So if you think about that, I need a 5, right? And some 3s in there. So this one has a 5. So I'm going to look for other ones that make sense for this. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. 3 doesn't work. That one doesn't work. And okay, so all of these ones don't work. So all of these ones don't work. And so it must be this one right here. And that makes sense actually, because if you have this $5 that you start with, that's going to be the 0.0, 5, right? And then she adds 3 every single week. So that means she's going up 3, right 1, up 3, right 1. Or in this case, right, we talked about this, we would flip it and it would be down 1 or up 1, right 3, up 1, right 3. And that kind of looks like that slope. So this one, B9, matches with A10. Okay. So hopefully this makes a little bit more sense to you in terms of what, you know, how it is to go forward. What you're doing is you're reading through and you're looking for clues on what you can use. So here I use the clue of, oh, the y-intercept of this was going to be the 0.0, 5. So when I swap those two in inverse land, I should get 5, 0, which is exactly what I got here, this point, right? And then I looked at slopes because this slope was going to be adding 3 every week. So that's up 3, right 1. So that would be, we'd have to go up 1, right 3, up 1, right 3, because you flip those, right? All right.